Hi, I'm Jim Krumm, Colorado's Best Home Inspections. On this house here today, we're going to do a home inspection, a sewer scope, and we're going to do radon testing. This is our equipment here, so let's go on and get started. Okay, we're going to perform a sewer scope on this house. Before we got started, we kind of looked around to see where it was going to be our easiest position to do the scope. This one has the floor drain, which is really nice because then if somebody upstairs flushes water or something like that, we don't have leaks. If you use something like this, you need to make sure that whoever is above you doesn't turn water on. But I'm going to use our little tool. I'm going to pull this off. You know, I already have the camera on. I like to, when I start to record, I like to scan around the room so that if they do share this with a seller, they know they're actually looking at their house, so that they know it's just not a generic report that somebody's requiring or recommending repairs. So we drop down. To begin with, we're in ABS, which is what this is. Right now we're getting basically, and you make sure that was cold water again. Okay. We're hitting now right outside the foundation. We're going to transition into SDR. That's the green pipe. We use PVC white fittings, but you can see we have a little water running in the kitchen. Basically that helps us show that we have water flow. The other thing it does is it helps lubricate the camera, kind of makes it easier to push. Sometimes when you're getting out a really long line, we'll end up turning the bathtub on so that we have a lot of water flow. I like to run out wet because it's easier to push my camera. Then we turn off the water, kind of let things stabilize, and we pull it back dry. Just because our camera stays nice and straight, we don't have water or debris, you don't have to worry about the camera head getting dirty, and we can see really nicely on the way coming back. I'm watching both directions, but like I say, I'm using the water to push more than anything. This house here, we are a townhome, so we're picking up right about here. We're starting to pick up another line, which is the neighboring unit. Here it looks like we're picking up another line. That's what those are. Sometimes you'll actually see that when you're pushing through on a house and they tie in an outside line, or if you're going through a basement floor, you're just seeing where they tie in other components to the house. We're going to transition change here. Whenever we get the transition, the directional changes, that's where we have to kind of watch for bellies, disconnects, things like that. Do we have as much water flowing when we go past it as we did to start out with? Right now we're looking really nice on this line. Don't really seem to have any issues. We're at about 60 feet right now. Just so the counter is always approximate. You know, if you have a defect, some spot out in the yard, just one or two spots, and you want to locate them, that's what you use the sonde and the locator for. These marks are just kind of give a relation to where it is from the house. We should be getting pretty close here to the parking lot. I kind of guesstimate as I look out there so I know about how far my line is going to be out. So in case it does anything weird, you know it. But it looks like we're coming up to the main hub where we're going to tie into the whole unit's main line. And if you look right there, there's a lot more water running than we're running. And this is the transition. Not a good idea to drop into the main because sometimes the curves they take, you can get your camera head stuck. Not a good day. Somebody has to dig to get it out if you can't pull it out, or you lose a very expensive camera. So right at about 98 feet is where they transition into the main. Normally, like I say, this one, they may or may not share ownership of that line. The HOA may own after it touches somebody else's. You never know. We try to stay away from the HOA lines unless we know who owns it. This one, it sounds like she owns a portion of it, so that's why we're doing the sewer scope today. Some people will do the HOA, some people hire for the HOA, but you want to make sure that you're working for your client. When I pull back, we're going to turn the water off, let it drain. I personally like to turn off my letters. That way, if I decide if we have a problem with a line, a lot of times I'll take a snapshot and put a picture in the report of the crack or the offset, or we may have one joint that has heavy roots. So I like to not have any numbers, anything in there, just because it makes it easier for them to see nice. I like to use sanitary wipes here, keeps my equipment clean and sterilized. When I go through the house, I don't have to worry about dripping. It just makes a nice, neater job. You know, we always want to leave things as neat as we found them. So now we're just pulling back. Some guys wear knee pads. We a lot of times put a towel down. If it's a nice clean floor like this, you can actually kind of sit down and pull, and it's not a big deal. But you can see there's a little bit of residual water in the line as it's draining down, but not as much as when we were pushing out. And that just tells us we're flowing. At the top, you can see a little bit of the water line. A lot of times if you have somebody put grease down, you'll see the grease build up on the sides. As you're looking at the line, this is SDR. You'll be able to see clay is usually an orangish color. If it's concrete, a lot of times you'll see pebbles in the bottom. It's because the concrete wears away just like on your driveway. And so you'll see a little bit of spalling. You can actually see it's a concrete line. We don't use a lot of those in Colorado as your personal line. We see a lot of them as the main. But once in a while, we'll run into them. The newer stuff is usually all SDR or PVC. Although there was several different products, Orangeburg, things that we've had problems with. So once you look in here, you'll be able to see what the material is. So this, the main sewer line is SDR. The underfloor portion of the house would be ABS, just like we're seeing inside the house. And my reports actually state that. So people know what they're looking at. And you saw right there's a little bit of flash on the camera. We just picked up a little debris. If you shake it in the water, a lot of times there's a little bit right here. If it was too bad, usually you can do that and you can clean it off so you can see. Now this is where we transition to SDR. You can actually see right there what's called a fern coat connection. It's actually a black rubber boot. You don't glue PVC to ABS. So all the other joints, you'll just see the joint. Usually at your transition, you're going to see evidence of that fern coat. And like I say, show them that yes, we're still in their line, we're still at their house. Turn off the recording, clean up your camera, and we're going to clean this space. That's one of the other reasons we have those wet wipes. You know, put your camera away clean. It's much easier to use the next day. Turn it off. Sewer scope's done. Now we always like to seal our caps. On a floor, your chances of a leak are pretty minimal. But if you put one here and you don't seal it, you may have a leak. Last thing you want is to be called back because either you cause damage, they have a leaking sewer cap, something like that. We actually take before and after pictures so that we can show the line looks like it was when we got to it. If I look at this and there's a crack, which sometimes you'll see the lines cracked, I won't do a sewer scope in that one there. Our company does not pull sewers or pull toilets. I know some guys do. We're not plumbers. So my feelings is that we shouldn't be pulling the toilets because we're charging for a service. But that's entirely, somebody else's call. But we personally don't pull toilets. So If you look, we got a little bit of the sealer on there. Like I say, I'm not worried about this one leaking, but if it does, that's why we take the before and after pictures. And then you just zip up your gloves, throw them away. Everything's ready for the next job. That's kind of it. Sewer scope wise, this one actually looked nice and clean, but what our report's going to state is it had ABS for the underfloor, SDR for the underground sewer pipe. The line was approximately 98 feet long, and on this one we don't have any recommendations. A lot of times my report will say cleaning, hydrojet, repair, but this one we actually had a nice fall. It wasn't really holding any debris. So on the sewer scope itself, there's just really no recommendations. And then they'll get the full report with the YouTube video tomorrow morning. Thank you.